Today we're gonna do something I've been wanting to do for a long time, which is take the full tour of my backyard. But I'm not just gonna show you around the space. We're gonna break down all the tips, all the landscaping advice that we've used to turn this empty plot of land behind our house into the backyard space of our dreams. It's been featured all over the internet, it's been in Architectural Digest, but it's taken us 12 years of very hard work to get there. As they say, good things take time, so let's go take the tour. Let's start by talking about terracing, because that is literally the foundation our house is built on. When we bought the property, it was on this massive slope, and we quickly learned there's not a lot you can do with a property built on a hillside without going in and terracing the land, adding retaining walls, and filling them all in with dirt. So for the first several years that we had our house, it was just the house and then this top level that the pool is built on. And this first level is actually built on a 30-foot retaining wall. I remember we would look down over the railing and see this massive dirt hill in the backyard covered in trees and overgrown brush. And we would dream about the day when we would finish it out and our kids could run around and play down there. But we knew it was going to be a massive project, so we wanted to wait until we were ready, both mentally and financially. We decided to start by building this infinity edge pool. It was the kind of closest area off the house and the part that you see when you walk in the front door. And I love the infinity edge because when you're swimming, it feels almost like you're tucked into the canopy of trees. It just has this really magical feeling. I remember when we bought the house, you could only see one or two buildings in the Austin downtown skyline, and the city has just changed and developed so much that now we have this amazing downtown skyline view that we love. So when you're dealing with a large, expansive backyard space, it's important to start by creating your master plan. This is when you can define the purpose and the use for every different area of the yard. Maybe there's one area that you carve out for dining space. There could be another area that you want to leave open so your kids can play sports. And if you want to add something later on, like a pool or a fire pit, you can carve out where that will go. And this allows you to tackle things in phases because you don't have to do everything at once. In fact, in my experience, it's totally unrealistic to expect to do it all at once. Leave yourself some room to do one thing at a time. Adam and I usually tackle one big project a year, but we always have that big vision of where we're headed. Once you've defined your different spaces, it's time to create definition using materials. We decided to use gravel for the large, more expansive areas of the backyard. We love that European aesthetic, and you also don't have to mow gravel, so that's an added bonus. We created pathways to get from one area to another by creating gravel paths that we then lined with stone borders. We wanted to add some warmth, so we created this wood deck. Adam and his dad built this. It took them about a month. They created it out of ipe, which is a really durable, hardy tropical wood. We love the way it turns gray with time, and we wanted to have a really flat area that we could use for a dining table or to do yoga on. It's been a great functional element, and I like how it adds some warmth to the space. Once you have all of your hard surfaces laid down, it's a good idea to decide where you might need some privacy or just to add some coziness to an otherwise large space. So we planted these big cherry laurel hedges, which are evergreen, so they stay green all year long. They get really lush, so they provide a lot of privacy. And I just like how they kind of carve out areas of the backyard so it feels more like these little rooms. We knew that we wanted a fire pit down here. We wanted to be able to have campfire nights where the kids could make s'mores and we could cook over an open fire. We didn't necessarily plan on it becoming the focal point to the whole backyard, but it actually ended up being huge. So kind of a happy accident because I love just the design element that it gives the space. We built the fire pit out of the same stone as the rest of the terracing and ditto with the built-in bench. We wanted it to all kind of feel organic with the rest of the property, almost like it had been here for years and was just kind of built into the rest of the terrace walls. It's a wood-burning fireplace. I had these grates actually built locally by a guy who works with steel, and that way we can actually cook on the open fire, which is really cool. Once the fire pit was done, we were ready to start adding plants. It was so exciting to turn this bare space into the lush garden we were dreaming about. We added boxwoods and rosemary, olive trees, lemon trees. It just felt so lush and Mediterranean. And then, in the big Texas freeze of 2021, we lost almost all of our plants, just like everyone else in Austin. And we kind of had to start from scratch. It was actually really heartbreaking to have to cut back our huge olive trees to the stump and to see all of these jasmine vines and ivy that we've been growing for years have to be completely ripped out. It was so sad, but we learned some really good lessons from it. We let everything go dormant for a year, and then we kind of took stock and evaluated what needed to be replanted and where we needed to just find some different varieties altogether. So what was the lesson that we learned the hard way? Find out what planting zone you're in and stick to the plants that thrive in that area. You can just Google like your city name and what zone am I in, and it'll tell you Austin is zone 8. So it'll tell you exactly what plants will thrive. You know, as much as I want to have all of the Mediterranean plants, it's even more important to plant the ones that will do really well. After the freeze, we cut back most of the plants that looked dead, and I was actually really pleasantly surprised. Our olive trees came back as big olive bushes. Some of our jasmine slowly started to come back. We were able to save quite a bit, but then we had to come in and replant a lot of what didn't make it. So when we did replant, we leaned into native varieties of plant that we knew would thrive in Austin. We used Japanese boxwoods and cherry laurels, Indian hawthorns, little ollies, rosemary. These survive year after year and they get stronger over time, and little by little, our yard is getting really lush again. The next phase was my vegetable gardens. And we knew that we had to choose an area of the yard that would get as much sunshine as possible from sunrise to sunset. We kind of left this space empty for a long time, and then last summer the timing was finally right. So it took us about 2 months to research how to build our own DIY raised beds and start working on the project. I thought this was going to be a really simple project, just like building some frames and filling them in with dirt and planting vegetables. Of course, it turned into this massive undertaking. This was also a huge hillside, like a major slope, so we couldn't do anything with the land until we'd leveled it out, added more terracing, built more retaining walls, brought in tons of dirt, and then it was time to actually construct the beds. It took us a while, but I really think it was worth every drop of sweat. These plants are thriving. My tomato crop is here. I'm so excited. And I really think it's due to a couple things. First, just the full sun. Like, these plants are so happy when they get sunshine all day. The second thing is we installed drip sprinklers in each of the 3 raised beds. This is when the sprinkler actually runs underneath the soil and it waters the plants from the ground up. And not only does this give like a constant sort of drip of the water that the plants need, but it's also more eco-friendly because less water evaporates into the air. It all goes into feeding the plant's roots. I dedicated 1 bed to my lettuce, 1 bed to my tomatoes, and then 1 bed to fresh herbs. You know, really my whole inspiration for these vegetable gardens was my love of cooking. And so it's been so amazing to be able to just come down here and get tons of lettuce for salads, get my herbs for cooking. I'm about to have my tomatoes. I could not be happier with how this turned out. Adam and I always love to have a project to work on. Typically, we try to tackle 1 big backyard project a year, whether it's the fire pit, a new dining area, the deck. Most recently, we added the vegetable gardens. I don't think we'll ever be done, but we're definitely a lot closer to our ultimate vision. I think the next thing will probably be an outdoor kitchen, TBD.